Dear Penrith Solar residents, my name's Eddy May.
Eddie, what are you doing?
What? No,
Come on, man.
what do you mean? I was just going to introduce NRG Solar to Penrith.
Come on,
What
bro.
are you doing here?
Well, this is our podcast, man.
Not today, brother. All right, this is now the NRG Solar / Penrith Solar Centre
You
podcast.
always said the future of solar was collaboration.
I did.
And here we are. I'm even on the wrong side of the desk.
How do you feel sitting over there? Do you feel a bit weird?
I'm nervous that you're in control here.
Well, quite a few years ago, I think I was at All Energy, and they asked me to give a talk about any topic that
Eddie,
I wanted.
wait,
Right?
what's All Energy?
Okay. So All Energy is a solar conference, right?
Yeah.
It's in Melbourne.
Yeah.
It's probably the largest solar conference Australia has,
Yep.
and a Smart Energy Council conference is big too in Sydney.
Yes.
And it's where manufacturers get together and they showcase their products and their new things that they've got, all their new technologies. But more importantly, it's where the industry gets together, like good people in the industry. They all get together. You know, we have networking drinks, we just catch up and we have meetings and we share stories and we share, you know, what a crap month we had, you know, last November, but how awesome it was in August. And what did you do so well? And it's been like, I did this and I'm going to try that, right? So it's where the good guys can really thrive and learn off each other.
Absolutely.
I love All Energy, right?
I almost hang out for it.
What?
I hang out for it.
Yeah.
Like, I woke up today and because we're going to Smart Energy today, tomorrow, the day after, and I'm like, yes, the day's here.
Well, that's why I'm here, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm actually here to do this podcast, but now I've got a mate, which is even better. I was going to do it on my own, but that's fine.
So what did you say at All Energy?
I said the future of solar is in collaboration, right? And what I was meaning there is like, you know, for solar, for the job to be done, it can't just be one person alone. It's too big, right? For us to do what's required for the climate and for our environment and for our future and our children and grandchildren, it's too big for one person. It's too big for one company, even, right? Yeah. So really, we've got to do it together if we want to do it properly, right? So what we're seeing now, we're seeing that play out. Collaborations, mergers, acquisitions, you know, even retirements. And things are evolving, right? Rapidly, right? Yeah. And it makes me think about, you know, decisions that customers are making right now. Like, they wouldn't know to think like this, right? But, you know, and when they choose the company that they're going with and they enter into this long-term relationship, this is happening in the middle of all of this, right? And is it a problem? I don't know. What do you think?
It's a really good question, mate. And these are things that I guess we think about, and clients wouldn't think about it at all. And it's arguable if it's actually important for them to think about. I mean, part of me says no. You don't want to confuse them. They've got to buy good, high quality solar.
Yep.
But part of me says yes. A lot of me says yes because who are they actually entering in a relationship with? Where is the money going? Does the company they're buying off, is it even owned in Australia? You know, is it owned by, I don't know, the Germans? Or is it owned by China? Or is it owned by the US? You've got to remember, Ed, when people buy solar too, there's a government rebate, an STC scheme. That's taxpayers' dollars, right? Where's that go if the company's not owned by Australia? You know, that's another little thing to think about. But then the flip side, like, there are all these big mergers that we're seeing. We're seeing companies come in and acquire a whole heap of companies and say, well, this is my bucket now. And, you know, they're doing that for the bigger picture, VPPs, energy plans. They're energy companies, these companies. Then you got the opposite, though. You got the man in a van who has for so long practiced, probably did good quality installs, you know, like, the person would sell the system and then they'd install it. I personally know a guy out in Hawkesbury. The funny guy's got 2 vans set up. He's got like a van set up for like if he wants to do a tin roof and a van set up if he wants to do I promise you, right? And he's a good installer. Yeah. This guy is very, very good. What happens when he retires?
It's a great question, Jake. And that's the thing. So, you know, if you want to get a ceiling fan put up, right, you can probably grab a Sparky's number off the local shop window and get your ceiling fan put in.
Yes.
And if it breaks, you just grab another Sparky's number and he'll put another ceiling fan in, right? And then that's totally fine to do that, right? What does that look like with solar? It's totally different, right? For starters, you've got a $10,000 plus investment going on, $20,000, $30,000 sometimes, right? Then you've also got the next guy. he doesn't want to touch that because now he's responsible as the last person in there, right?
Yep.
So, and then you've got this last aspect of tech support, which we've already spoken about a couple of times, right?
So important.
But if we ring a guy in the van, he for him to give you tech support,
I just had a vision of that.
He's got to answer his mobile.
And then he'd be on the Bluetooth handset in the car.
He would be either in the car or he'd be on the roof.
No Wi-Fi, who cares?
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So, and I think what's happening, right, is that we're getting more and more pressure to deliver like a higher level of support than ever before, because back in the day you couldn't even monitor your solar system,
Didn't matter.
You didn't know if it worked or not.
Yeah.
Now everyone's got apps and everything, so they've got so many more questions, and as they should have.
Yes,
that's a good thing.
Yes,
don't get me wrong, I love that. Right, I want everyone to have a Tesla app or a SolarWeb app or the Enphase app
in their fingertips,
so they can see it and understand what's going on. But the problem with that is that for the industry is that now when you got a question, you want it answered, and as you should, right?
Yes.
So who's going to answer those questions? And when that very good local installer who's supported that little local community for years eventually wants to retire, how does that guy retire and have his phone stop ringing, right? Like, I feel for the guy in a way. He's done a great job
There'd
for
be
20
a lot of pressure, and back in the day, it probably didn't matter as much because warranties were 5 years or something like that. But now, we said it before and we'll say it again, buying a solar system's buying a marriage.
Yeah.
That's what you're buying.
Yeah.
You can't. You've got to have something tangible to actually sell or give to someone who's stepping up and rising up through the ranks would be what I would want to do.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they've gone out and they've installed, let's say they do 1 or 2 systems a week, which is totally great, right? And the man in the van too, what they quite often do is they mix and match every brand they want. If a client wants REC Goodwee, right, which to me wouldn't make sense to me. It's like mixing E10 with a Ferrari. Like, he will give them that, though, because that's what the client wanted.
And he can get it easy enough from
He can get it from a wholesaler. Who cares? So I think no one's actually going to want to take on that long-term liability.
Yeah.
So what does happen to the phone number, Eddie?
Well, that's the question, and that's the risk, right? And I think that's also the message.
Yeah.
It's the message for the guys out there is to have that question, right?
Yep.
And even if you're using the local guy in the van, he's probably in the top 10% of installers in terms of quality. It doesn't mean that he's not going to have to provide support for that. And my actual thing is, I'm looking at it two ways, right? On one hand, I feel for the customer. 10 years time, I've rang that mobile phone, that guy's either retired or he's got a job in the mines now, no one's answered. I don't know who to ring. That's that side. But then I feel for the bloke. His phone's ringing. He's trying to live his life in retirement. He's done a bloody good job for 20 years
now, whatever it might be.
And he should also, he should have the right to finish up his retirement. And I know some recently retired electricians, their phones are ringing
flat out,
and they don't know. And what are they going to do? Right? And I actually don't have the answer for it either. I just know it's a problem.
What a crazy thing to think about. Because they fell into this, when an electrician becomes a licensed electrician, so they go from apprentice to electrician, they get a card. We, in the past, have assumed that gives them leadership skills, right? We've assumed that now makes them a leader. That is wrong. We have apprentices that are great leaders. We have had tradesmen that were not. Now, you don't just become a team leader because you get a license. Like, you've got to actually have traits of a leader. A leader is a doing word, A leader is not a title. Leadership is a doing word. But getting back to that, we've made the same assumption with electricians. Okay, you're an electrician, you can do solar. But also, deeper than that, you're an electrician who installs solar, totally fine. You should run a retail arm. And it's a completely different kettle of fish, isn't it?
It's a totally different.
PSC can be divided down too. You've got basically sales and operations and install and support. You've got, they're very different. We just lucky enough or we've worked hard enough to be able to build them into one beautiful company that works seamlessly. But most people out there don't have that experience, do they?
No.
What do you usually see?
Well, you know, what you normally see is, as you say, you see one or the other, right?
Yes.
So you quite often will see a sales company without any installation experience internally at all,
Yes.
right? A moderate amount of design experience, and will probably leave the final design to the guy who they're giving the job to, the contractor,
That man in the
right?
van.
Right. So now the customer's got two relationships, right? They've got the sales relationship, but they know in their head, and they probably didn't realise this when they signed up, that the person who knows what's going on is the guy in the van. Right? And God forbid if they end up getting their mobile number, because he'd be the one getting the phone
in
call,
strife.
right?
He's in strife.
And he doesn't want his mobile going out because he didn't sign up to provide tech support. Right?
And that's exactly the problem, Eddie. He didn't sign up for that. This person you're talking about is the same person that's retiring, right? He or she got fed up with putting up with these dodgy sales companies that are promising the world and delivering an atlas. So then they say, I can do this myself, similar to what I did, right? But they just stayed at man in a van and went, well, how do I go from here? They failed to grow and scale, which is fine, but that place of being a solar retailer, right? I can give you a stat off the top of my head. It takes 6.5 humans per install every day. So if I'm doing 10 installs a day, we're 65 humans to make that happen. That's a metric that this business works off, right? So one man in a van can't possibly do what my 6.5 highly trained weapon humans can do. Because when we do an install, we've got STCs to submit. Prior to that, you've got to sell and design the job. You've got to get permission to connect off Endeavour Energy or the local DNSP. For us, we've got home warranty insurance. Most companies don't even know what that is. You've got to do a full submission to them. Then you've got to install the job. There's an install manager who coordinates the job, who's ordered the stock, who makes sure that the boys meet their KPI of being out of the factory in 15 minutes in the morning. We've got to make sure we get to site safely. We've got a person in charge of safety. Way before all this, someone had to train these humans too.
Exactly.
Then we do the install. Then we've got post-install compliance. So we've got STCs to submit. We've got metering to submit. We've got invoices to be sent. You know, we've got after-sales service care, love, customer love to do. You know, and then we've got to look after all these beautiful people as well. HR, you need HR. Right?
Exactly.
It's clockwork, Ed. And when you get it right, it's beautiful. But the thing is with a model like what I just spoke about, with 65 team members, 10 installs a day, whatever it is, you also have beautiful amounts of buying power. Your overheads are divided by 65 people.
That's right.
So whilst it might seem like it's overhead or top heavy, it actually may not be compared to man in a van who cannot possibly buy what we buy for the same prices. So what we always find, they're actually the same price or sometimes even a little bit more expensive than us.
That's right.
Like these man in a van. But what you will get a beautiful install. There's no doubt about it. I've got no doubt in my mind these guys take immense amounts of pride in their work. When's the STCs getting traded? When's the metering going in? Are you waiting 3 months for that thing? How is your overall experience? You know, we said before, we spoke about net promoter scores. It's on our office. We obsess over it. If we started doing people's metering after 30 days, our net promoter score would fall through the floor.
Oh, of course it would.
It would. So they're not obsessing over those numbers. We know the levers and the triggers to pull that make that net promoter score increase. And we also know when we've pushed it too far and it slightly decreases. If our net promoter score drops into the 70s, we know that we've made a mistake and we must get it back into the 80s. That's the metric. So these, yes, they might be the same price. It will never be the same experience. It's not possible. It's just not possible. So, and that's completely separate to what happens to the phone number. PSC's phone number, I tell you now, it'd go to auction. If anything about it, Eddie'd buy it. You know what I mean? Like it's got substance. It's worth something. You know, it's a different experience. We're geared up to support clients for 25 years.
The other thing that's really important, Jake, that people, you know, and you said something about buying power, and people forget that there's a bell curve, right? And when you get to a certain point, you will end up being able to buy cheaper than anybody else. Quality products, not talking cheap.
No.
I'm talking quality products for less money,
Yep.
and you will be so efficient with your team that you'll be able to deliver the service better for less money, right?
Yeah.
So bigger companies aren't necessarily more expensive. I 100% agree with that, right?
Yeah,
And that's a really important factor not to forget about.
Of course,
right?
they're buying by the container, you know. Well, there's a whole nother conversation around supply chain, right? And who's warranting these products.
Jake, there's the other thing as well, right? It's the fact that you and I are sitting here right now, stuffing around. Jake, there's the other thing as well, right? And our businesses are ticking along just beautifully, right? And don't lose sight of that, right? Our businesses do not need us every second of the day, right? So that is what also creates a sustainable company, right? So, you know, that really de-risks things for a customer, knowing that, I don't know, if I walk out the door and, you know, get hit by a car and I'm in hospital for a month,
still goes.
they can still phone up and get support. Their installation will still happen. You know, everything will tick over, right? I actually could retire. I've got no money. But if I did have
solar does that to you.
Hypothetically,
I know what you mean.
I could retire, and NRG Solar will continue to operate and provide and answer the phone. Right, and I think that's a really important. It's a really important thing to think about.
It's important, man, and I really think about it pretty often. What you've created and what I've strived to create, it's a legacy, right? And I believe once you've reached that stage of you've built something of substance, something that someone would actually buy, like we have people try and buy us pretty often, right? And you do too. You've built legacy, and that is the point when something could actually happen to you, and it would really upset me. But it wouldn't matter to NRG. NRG is its own entity, and as is PSC. And, you know, it will keep going. The mission will still be there past potentially what you or I will be. You know? We've got a mission to 2050. You know, like, the biggest gamble for me would be that I won't be here at 2050 who knows, man? I hate to talk about it, like illness or who knows. But I can tell you now, PSC will hit its mission. I promise you that. I promise you that. And that is through the legacy that's been created and the leadership that we've been able to train these beautiful people with and demonstrate ourselves to be able to earn the right or earn the privilege, rather, to sit here and have these conversations. Exactly. And the conversations we'll have over the next couple of days.
For sure.
So that's killer, man.
That's so good.
Remember the feeling before we wrap up. I know this is your podcast and you're really trying to wrap me up. I remember, Eddie, the time when very much the discomfort, you would have had the same feeling, I've got no doubt, of being man in a van to one team member. My first team member early 2015 was Jory, our install manager. And then I remember the feeling of getting to 10 team members, right? And I think I had sales at this stage. I had a few different things within PSC. And what I desperately needed was some management and a leadership team, but I had no funds for that. So I was pulled from every limb. Man, I remember 13 team members being the toughest that PSC has ever been. And there were times where you'd go, wow, I can really understand why people throw in the towel at this stage. And it's important to push through that. And then when you finally get to, let's call it 20 team members, and you're generating enough revenue that you can afford to have a manager or a leadership team, that's where you've earned that privilege to be able to work on the business instead of in the business. And that is what builds systems and processes. You being able to look at it from a bird's eye view and say, we should fix this. We need better customer support here. Or we need to train our installers better because of this.
That's right.
But if you get stuck in the race, you can't possibly fix things like what we have the ability to do.
And you're right. There is in business, actually, there's
turned into business coaching podcast.
It's a statistic that you get to about 12 or 13 people. It's about that number depending on personalities. And you need a new level of leadership that can sometimes not be yourself.
Of course.
Because you can build a business to 13 doesn't mean you can build it to 60.
Of course.
And the right leader knows, I need to put someone in a leadership role into that spot. And why is this important for solar? Because ultimately, when you pick a solar company, you want them to be sustainable. Right? So you want to be like, who's a sustainable solar company that thinks about these things? That's what's important. Now, listen, That's about all the time I've got today at my podcast.
Thank you, Eddie. Mate,
So
that was incredible.
I just want to thank you, Jake,
Yeah.
for joining me on my podcast.
Hey, thanks so much for coming and hosting.
And do you have any last words? I'll let you have the final word.
Oh, I'll have the final words. At that moment of, the leadership team, once you get to 13 sort of team members, I remember the discomfort. It's giving me shivers right now.
Yeah.
But you want to choose a solar company. If you're watching this and you're going to buy solar, you want to choose a solar company that's got a quality-obsessed leader behind the scenes, that is sitting there monitoring a net promoter score, monitoring your experience and making sure that it goes off without a hitch. Or, more importantly, Eddie, than it going off without a hitch, if there is a problem, that it's fixed
Sorted.
like a boss, man.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that problem is fixed more impressively than what the actual install was.
Yeah.
That is the difference between good, great, and the best.
Yeah, I'm with you.
There
Awesome.
it is, bro.
That's the
Thanks so
wrap-up.
much. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you soon. Don't forget, like
Share and comment.
and subscribe. Oh, bro, that was good. What a banger.